Mr. President, Senate Judiciary Committee Democrats have successfully challenged several controversial judiciary provisions from the Republican so-called One Big Beautiful Bill. One example, the Republicans included a provision that would have limited the ability of individuals to challenge the Trump administration's executive actions by potentially putting them on the hook for millions of dollars when they try to defend their constitutional rights and go to court. Fortunately, the Senate parliamentarians struck this provision. Now, I'm proud of what we accomplished in eliminating some harmful provisions, but there's still a lot of problems with the big, beautiful bill. The more we learn about this bill, the worse it looks. Perhaps that's why there's a hurry to get this done before the 4th of July and people can take a close look at the details. I cannot stand idly by as my Senate Republican colleagues try to steamroll this bill through Congress because the president wants to do something before the 4th of July. We all know the provisions relative to health care and what they mean. The version that came over from the House of Representatives would have stricken health insurance coverage for 16 million families in America. What a wonderful idea. What are the Republicans thinking? There must be some really emergency reason to take health insurance coverage away from 16 million families. Well, it turns out the reason is to give a tax break to the wealthiest people in America. Oh, you Democrats, you always say that. It just can't be true. Listen, it is true. If you take people making $400,000 a year, the tax breaks that are being given by the Republicans, 60% of them go to people making more than $400,000 a year. And at the highest levels of income, the Elon Musk part of the world, $346,000 a year in tax breaks. I've got to say, I met Mr. Musk. I don't know him very well, but I don't think he'll miss it if $346,000 in tax breaks don't come his way. But I do think 16 million families will miss health insurance coverage. I knew I would. In 2021, when I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee, the parliamentarian ruled against our efforts, Democratic efforts, to include immigration policy in a reconciliation bill, even though the budget impact was more than $100 billion. At the time, the parliamentarian wrote, and I quote, "The reasons that people risk their lives to come to this country cannot be measured in federal dollars." That's still true. Despite this precedent, Republicans' judiciary title of the Big Beautiful Bill is a wish list of policy changes to help carry out mass deportations of immigrants who've lived in our country for years and pose no threat to our safety. Let's get down to the bottom line here. If someone is living in this country seeking citizenship and they're dangerous, they commit a serious crime, as far as I'm concerned, they're gone. They forfeited any right to consider staying in this country or acquiring citizenship. But there are so many others who came to this country and overstayed a student visa, overstayed a tourist visa, and they are technically in violation of the law. What have they done with their lives? Look around America, they're everywhere. They're working in your hospitals, they're working in your hotels, they're working in your restaurants, they're living next door to you, and they're going to church with you and your kids. These are people who are making America a stronger nation, and to brand them as criminals or rapists or terrorists without any proof whatsoever is just plain wrong. It's a shame that we reached this point. Don't take my word for it. Listen to what White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller said, quote, "Wow, it's amazing what this bill, the Big Beautiful Bill, accomplishes. The full border agenda, the full immigration agenda. These policies of mass deportation of immigrants are cruel and mean, and they go beyond any question of public safety. This bill would impose exorbitant fees that would make it impossible for vulnerable immigrants to access humanitarian relief in the United States. This includes a $1,000 fee on asylum and a $5,000 bond for parents seeking to be reunited with their child. The fee also placed barriers on due process, a $900 fee for an appeal in an immigration court. These fees are not just unconscionable, they're unfair. The Republican reconciliation bill increases state and local law enforcement grants funding. That sounds good, doesn't it? Well, you're wrong. This provision specifically prohibits using grant funds for community violence intervention and prevention programs, which are proven, evidence-informed strategies to reduce violence. We have a gun violence epidemic in America. Currently, guns are the #1 cause of death for American children and teens. Let me repeat that. In America, guns are the #1 cause of death for American children and teens. Not auto accidents, not cancer, guns. We need to support and strengthen community violence intervention and prevention programs. I've seen them, and I've seen them work in the city of Chicago and all around my state of Illinois to stop violent incidents before they happen. And we need to connect people with treatment and tools that decrease the risk of future violence. But instead of supporting valuable public safety measures, the Republican Big Beautiful Bill removes taxes and regulations on certain rifles, shotguns, and gun silencers. That's just what we need in America, isn't it? Cheaper guns. Combating this epidemic takes ingenuity and funding, not the reversal of life-saving gun violence prevention policies. But Republicans' reckless reconciliation bill will jeopardize the progress that's been made in our communities. And to make matters worse, Senator Cruz of Texas has added a provision that would leave the USAI, advanced intelligence industry, an unregulated Wild West. This provision would give states the choice between regulating AI or accepting federal funding under the Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment Program. This means states would have to choose between freezing all regulations on artificial intelligence for the next decade or give up specific federal funding. In addition to preventing new state regulation, it would make many of the laws already passed by states unenforceable regarding issues of AI, such as political deepfakes, fake face recognition, and algorithmic discrimination. We are currently living with the results of our failure to regulate big tech when it came to social media. Let's not make the same mistake when it comes to AI. This provision by Senator Cruz will allow big tech and bad actors to prey on the lack of regulations in the AI space and develop deceptive, biased, and potentially dangerous tools that hurt ordinary Americans and diminish trust in technology. Senator Cruz claims that provisions would only affect a state's eligibility to receive a part of the $500 million federal investment. But as my Democratic colleagues, Senator Cantwell and Markey, have pointed out, there's also a stipulation in the provision that would hold $42 billion in essential broadband program funding hostage. This would force states to choose between protecting consumers from AI-related harm or expanding critical broadband. Senator Cruz's provision provides greater harm to the American people than good. And listen, it says that this will be for until 10 years. I would like to say that I'm confident the federal government would respond within 10 years, but there's certainly no guarantee. I promise to support any amendment that will remove the AI pause provision from this bill, and I hope my Republican colleagues will do the same. So now is the real test for my Senate Republican colleagues. Will they stand with President Trump and provide tax breaks for millionaires and billionaires, or will they stand with their hardworking constituents and reject this betrayal? What's more important, a tax break for Elon Musk or the health insurance of $16 million America? What's more important, a tax break for the wealthiest people in America or your rural hospital? I think people know that when it comes to the quality of life, the hospital is more important and health insurance is critical. I hope for the sake of our country, 4 Republican senators will have the courage to step up and choose their constituents over special interest groups. Mr. President, I yield the floor.